Ah, look at you, sitting there smiling like you didn't just crawl out of hell with blood on your teeth and fire in your chest. You beautiful, twisted freaking masterpiece. Welcome to the side they all swore never existed. The side where monsters get hunted back. They used to whisper his name like a bedtime warning. Used to say, "Don't cross him. He's ruthless. He's cold. He's killed before." Ooh, spooky, right? He thought fear made him immortal. He thought the blood on his hands made him untouchable. He moved through the world like karma skipped him, like justice had its eyes closed, like no one had the balls to bite back. And maybe that was true, until you showed up. You, with your messy past, your cracked knuckles, and your silent rage. You, who didn't come to play hero or savior or saint. You, who stopped surviving and started remembering every damn scar that built you. Because see, while he was out there writing his name in red, you were building an entire myth in silence. You weren't loud, weren't flashy. You were studying, learning, bleeding, but never breaking. And while the world applauded his madness, you were becoming his karma in flesh and fucking bone. He had a kill count. But you had rage, debt, generational trauma, broken promises, and a soul that snapped so deep it echoed. You weren't born a monster. You were made by betrayal, by abandonment, by hands that should have held you and mouths that should have spoken love but spat venom instead. They thought turning you into a victim would silence you. They thought if they beat you down far enough, you'd just disappear. But they forgot what happens when silence grows teeth. You didn't just survive. You studied their every fuck-up like scripture. You learned how to smile without warmth, how to stare down liars without blinking, how to walk into fire, not to escape, but to own it. So when he came for you, when this so-called killer thought he'd add you to his fucking legacy, he didn't walk into a victim. He walked into a damn reckoning. And the wildest part, you didn't raise your voice, you didn't scream, you didn't beg. You looked him dead in the eye and made him feel every heartbeat he ever stole. You turned his ego inside out, made him see ghosts he thought were buried. You weren't just his downfall. You became his obsession, his paranoia, his nightmares. You haunted him without lifting a hand. You made him question his legend. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if he was the killer or just the next name on your list. He was used to hunting prey, but you didn't run. You smiled. You stood still. You let him come close enough to feel the gravity of what he fucked with. You made fear intimate. Every word you said rewrote his story. Every step you took cracked his foundation. He wasn't ready for a war that bled slow, a war that grinned, a war that reminded him what he truly is, powerless when faced with someone who has nothing left to lose. You weren't just some next target. You were the final chapter. He tried to play God. But you played truth. You played memory. You played every single fucked up thing he hoped no one would ever bring back to the surface. You became his mirror. And in that reflection, he didn't see a killer. He saw a coward, a fraud, a little boy hiding behind blood-stained bravado, terrified that someone would finally pull his mask off and say, "You ain't shit." And that someone was you. He didn't see death coming because he thought he was death. But death doesn't flinch. Death doesn't beg. Death doesn't weep in the corner, shaking, repeating your name like a prayer he swore he'd never say. He thought you'd be an easy ending. You became his fucking origin story in reverse. You were the reason he lost control, the reason he started looking over his shoulder, The reason why his hands stopped feeling steady. And you didn't need an army. You were the war. Every step you took, every time you didn't flinch, it broke him in pieces no one could stitch back. He tried to make you a victim, but you turned victimhood into violence. Not with bullets, not with blades, but with that look. That unbothered, merciless look that said, "You don't scare me, bitch." I already survived worse, and I made it scream too. And now he don't sleep right, can't eat without feeling your breath on his neck, can't look in the mirror without seeing those eyes, your eyes. Reminding him his name became folklore the second it crossed your path. He used to be the monster, you became the myth. And myths? They never die. They haunt, they consume. He called himself a killer. But you became his fucking curse, his last breath, his legacy in ashes. He wanted to be feared, but you made him remember what fear actually feels like. Not the cheap kind that makes people run, but the kind that freezes bones, the kind that crawls under skin and whispers, "This is what the hunted feel." And oh, he felt it, in his chest, in his spine, in the silence that followed every time he tried to convince himself you were just another name, another face, another statistic to stuff into the shadow of his ego. But you didn't fold like the others. You stared right through him, like you were looking past the mask and into the worm-eaten core. You made him feel seen, and ain't that wild? A man who made others vanish was terrified of being seen for what he really was. And that's the part that broke him, not the violence, not the revenge, the reflection. Because you weren't just punishment, you were truth incarnate. You held up the mirror and said, "This is who you are." No more smoke, no more screams to hide behind. Just you, naked, hollow, forgotten. He didn't die in blood. He died in silence, in that long stretched second when he realized he'd finally met someone who couldn't be erased, someone who didn't fear monsters because they became something worse to survive them. You didn't train for this. You were forged in it. You weren't built in a gym or taught in some therapist's chair. You were sculpted by lonely nights, screaming into pillows, countless betrayals, phones that never rang back, promises that were all lies, and the brutal realization that no one was coming to save you. So you saved yourself, piece by broken piece. And in that process, you turned into a nightmare no killer was ready for. They had plans, they had patterns, you had rage that learned to aim. He brought a knife to your throat. You brought every memory he thought you forgot. He hit you once. You made him relive everything he'd done in his own head, on loop. He made scars. You turned scars into sermons and preached them right back into his soul. And the best part, you didn't need to scream. You didn't need to explain yourself. You just stood there, quiet, still, focused, and made him feel small for the first time in his pathetic, blood-soaked life. You flipped the script without writing a single line. He was the chaos, but you were the balance, brutal, surgical, poetic. You didn't stop him, you ended the myth. Because after you, he wasn't feared, he was pitied, he was haunted. Whispers used to say, "Don't cross him." Now, they say, "Don't ever fuck with the one who broke him." You didn't just kill his body, you executed his legacy. You made sure that when people speak his name, they don't flinch. They laugh. Because no matter what he did, no matter how many graves he filled, how many tears he pulled from people's eyes, you're the only one they remember. Not because you were the loudest, not because you were the bloodiest, but because you were the last, the one he couldn't touch, the one he couldn't break. the one who made the killer choke on his own myth and swallow it in silence. He used to walk into rooms and make people flinch. Now, they say your name, and he's the one who twitches. He jumps at shadows. He wakes up sweating. He sleeps with the lights on, if he sleeps at all. Because in that moment when everything crumbled, he didn't see a person. He saw a reckoning in human skin. He saw every scream he ever caused, every tear, every body, every lie, rising like smoke behind your eyes. You didn't have to be evil to win. You just had to stop being afraid of your darkness. And once you did, he wasn't fighting a person. He was fighting every unanswered scream you ever swallowed. You weren't just stronger. You were anchored in pain so deep, so real. It gave you weight. He swung like chaos, but you moved like gravity. He couldn't cut you because you'd already bled in places he couldn't even pronounce. He couldn't break you because you were already born from ruins. He tried to kill you fast, but you made him feel every second of what slow death really is. You didn't just take him out. You unraveled him cell by cell, thought by thought, delusion by delusion. He called himself a killer? He wasn't shit without the fear. And once you took that from him, he crumbled like every other weak coward who builds a legacy on broken people and hopes no one fights back. But you did. Not with fists, with clarity. You showed him who he really was. And that's what finished him. Not the hit, not the stare, not the silence after. It was the truth. He thought the world owed him its knees. But you stood. Not because you had strength, but because you had nothing left to lose. And that's the kind of power no killer can survive. He walked into your story thinking he'd end it. Instead, he became your opening chapter. He became the before in your origin, the weak ghost that tried to kill you and built a monster instead. You didn't get revenge. You got freedom, and that's what he couldn't handle, because revenge can be dodged. But freedom, real, brutal, soul-deep freedom, that's the kind of shit that sticks. The kind of shit that doesn't end with blood. It ends with you walking away, alive, and him left choking on everything he thought made him powerful. He used to feel big in every room, until you walked in and didn't shrink. Didn't look down, didn't fold like the script said you would. He expected tears. You gave him dead silence and unblinking eyes. That's what cracked him, not the words, not the hands, but the fact that you weren't moved, not one fucking inch. Because by the time he reached you, you were already done grieving, done explaining, done trying to make sense of senseless shit. You'd buried too many versions of yourself already. The soft one, the hopeful one, the quiet one who waited for an apology that was never coming. All dead. He wasn't the first to hurt you. He was just the last one who'd ever get the chance. That's what made you dangerous. Not that you were angry, but that you were finished pretending you weren't. You didn't break his bones. You broke his blueprint. You showed him that fear only works on people who still care about consequences. And you didn't. Not anymore. You'd been underestimated so many times, you started to like it. Started to feed off it. Because it let you move quiet. It let you get close. It let you collect every single red flag like trophies and walk through fire while they laughed until the smoke cleared and you were the only one left breathing. He never planned for someone like you. He planned for victims, for people who flinch when shouted at, for people who freeze when danger smiles. But you didn't flinch. You fucking grinned back. He called himself a killer, but you were the one with no softness left to take. The one with eyes that had already watched the world burn down and learned how to walk through ash without choking. You weren't his enemy. You were his consequence, and nothing rattles a killer more than realizing the pain he caused. It didn't destroy you, it upgraded you. You didn't carry scars. You wore them like credentials. He walked in thinking this would be easy, but people like him, they only know how to fight the weak. They don't know what to do when the weak don't break. He wasn't ready for your patience, for the way you took your time, not out of mercy, but out of sheer calculated discipline, because you didn't need to rush revenge. You were revenge, not a moment, not an action, a whole fucking presence. And he felt it, every second, even when you said nothing, even when you just stared, even when your back was turned. He felt it in his chest, like a ticking clock tied to every bad decision he ever made, like the past had finally grown claws and found its voice. And that voice, it sounded like you. He didn't die fast. You didn't let him. You let the silence sit. You let the weight land. You let the truth echo in the same hallways he used to scream through. And you watched him shrink under the same shadow he used to cast on others. He didn't just lose. He came face to face with the one thing he never believed in. Someone who could not only take his power, but erase his entire damn identity with a stare. His whole identity was built on being the threat. He never even considered what would happen if the room didn't fear him back. That's the part that gutted him, not the pain, not the loss, but the fact that his name didn't mean shit to you. You looked at him like he was just another one, another coward who got high off suffering because he never had the balls to face his own. And when you didn't blink, didn't beg, didn't give him the satisfaction of fear, you stripped him naked in front of everything he used to control. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. Because somewhere between your silence and your presence, he remembered what helpless felt like. And it wrecked him. He called himself a killer. But the second he realized you weren't scared to die, he was the one gasping for control. Because that's what it really comes down to, isn't it? Control. People like him, they don't crave blood, they crave control. They want to own the fear in your eyes, to watch you crumble, to be the reason your world falls apart. But you stopped giving people that power a long time ago. You stopped trying to be normal, stopped trying to heal in environments that made you sick, stopped watering yourself down just to make broken people comfortable. You stopped apologizing for surviving, and that made you unstoppable. He wanted to play God, but he didn't realize you'd already lived through hell and built your own damn altar. One where fear didn't live. One where pain didn't rule. One where people like him came to fucking end. He thought he was unpredictable. But you were unreadable, unshakable, unforgiving in ways he couldn't process because you didn't need to prove a damn thing. He needed an audience. You just needed closure. And it wasn't even about revenge anymore. You had already outgrown the need to hurt him back. You just needed to stand there and let the weight of everything he'd done crash into him at once. No dramatics, no screaming match, just the undeniable truth hanging in the air like smoke from a fire he couldn't control. And he broke right there. You saw it, the shift, the flicker, that tiny little fracture in his mask, when he realized he didn't have the upper hand anymore because you weren't playing the same game. You walked in with nothing to lose, and that made you something no killer is built to handle. Because when you've already been through the worst, when you've already been stripped bare and left for dead, you learn something that no amount of violence can teach. You learn that fear is a choice, and you stopped choosing it. You stopped choosing fear, and he started feeling it in ways he never understood before. Not the loud kind, the quiet, suffocating kind. The kind that makes your skin crawl from the inside, that makes every breath feel borrowed. He stood there, face twitching, like he was still trying to find the mask he used to wear. But it didn't fit anymore, because you peeled it off. With no knives, no screaming, just presence, just the way you looked at him like he wasn't a demon, just a disappointment. And that hit deeper than any bullet ever could. Because killers, they're addicted to the lie that power makes them permanent. That if they swing hard enough, if they scare enough people, they become legend. But legends don't stutter. Legends don't blink. Legends don't shake in front of the storm. And in that moment, you were the fucking hurricane. And he was just standing there, wet, cold, and exposed for the first time in his fake little rain. The people who once feared him, they watched him unravel like a child caught in a lie. Because fear doesn't follow you when your hands start shaking in front of the one person who didn't run. They saw you, not loud, not armed, but solid, real, unbreakable in a way his ego couldn't compute. And just like that, you weren't the story he was trying to write. You became the story they'd remember. Because people feel power. Real power. Not the cheap kind you shout at people. Not the kind you wave around like a badge. The kind that walks into chaos and doesn't flinch. You wore your pain like armor. Not to look tough, but because you earned every damn piece of it. You'd already been humiliated, abandoned, betrayed, and every inch of your skin had been branded by somebody else's lie. He thought he was going to add to that. Nah, he was the last one who ever tried. And when he saw it, when it finally hit that his fear tactics couldn't move you, he started looking around, searching for someone to save him from you. But ain't that the twist? The killer, begging for backup, while the unarmed one stood tall, dragging his sins behind them like chains they'd learned how to swing. You didn't need revenge. You were already past that. You were the scar he'd never stop scratching. You were the shadow that wouldn't leave his mind quiet. You were the reminder that he lost to someone who was never supposed to win. He wasn't feared anymore. He was witnessed. People watched his legacy rot in real time, and they felt it. They felt the silence when you walked by. They felt the way he avoided eye contact. They felt the shift, how the room stopped revolving around him and started orbiting you. Not because you wanted power, but because you outlasted his. You outlasted his power, and that's something no killer can process. Not the ones who built themselves on fear instead of foundation. He wasn't used to people standing. He was used to people folding, trembling, negotiating with God under their breath. But you didn't pray. You watched. You stared into the wreckage he'd made, and you didn't look away. You weren't his victim. You were his auditor, and you ran the numbers on his soul. Came back with a red line through every lie he ever told himself. You didn't scream because your silence was louder than his legacy. You didn't fight for justice. You became the collapse of his entire identity. You walked into the ruins he left behind and built a throne out of what he thought would bury you. And you sat on it, calm, composed, unimpressed, because that's what stung the most. You weren't even angry anymore. You weren't trying to make him suffer. You weren't trying to hurt him like he hurt you. You were just done. Done giving him space in your head. Done keeping quiet about the damage. Done pretending monsters were ever anything more than broken boys who never grew the fuck up. You became myth, not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't need to do. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need a weapon. You didn't need backup or permission or applause. You just stood there, like a mirror he couldn't smash, showing him every twisted thing he ever was, without blinking. And the best part, you weren't trying to prove anything. You weren't trying to reclaim shit. You didn't need to, because people watched you do the one thing no one ever thought was possible. You turned the killer into a cautionary tale. Yo, you ever sit in a room so full of fake smiles and snakeskin that your soul starts itching? Yeah, that's what you crawled through. That's what you survived. A whole damn ecosystem built on your silence, on you pretending like it didn't break you. But guess what? You're still standing, and they're the ones unraveling. Let's keep it all the way real. They never thought shit would catch up to them. They were banking on your kindness. They were living off your pain like it was free feckin' Wi-Fi. And the whole time, you kept asking yourself, greater than, am I the problem? Am I too much? Too emotional? Too intense? Nah, you were just surrounded by people who couldn't stomach accountability. But now the universe is spinning the block. And it ain't missing, swear to God. They're finally paying for everything. And you don't even have to lift a damn finger. God's doing the clapping back for you. You know what they hate most right now? Not that they're suffering, not that things are falling apart, but that you're not even watching, you're not subtweeting, you're not calling, you're not even reacting. You're just glowing quietly, dangerous, free. That silence, that peace, it's louder than any revenge you could have cooked up. You're healed, and they're haunted. They're out here running from mirrors, avoiding eye contact with their own reflection, because it's not you that scares them now. It's their own karma chewing through the drywall of their delusions. Let's rewind, just for fun. Remember when they gaslit the fuck out of you, made you doubt your own memory, made you apologize for being hurt? Remember when they acted like they were the victim in your story, like they were the one you did dirty? You remember that face they made when you finally started pulling away? That fake concern masked with ego panic? Yeah, they didn't miss you. They missed controlling you. They missed that access to your energy, to your patience, to your loyalty. But that door's deadbolted now, and their key don't work anymore, because what they didn't count on was you outgrowing their grip. You ever notice how the same people who played God with your feelings suddenly start believing in karma when they're the ones taking L? It's funny, right? When you were drowning, it was your fault. But now that they're sinking, now it's, life's been hard lately. Now it's, I've been going through a lot. Now it's, people change. Nah, you don't get to break people and cry about the mess. You don't get to shit on loyalty and then mourn loneliness. You don't get to be the villain and demand sympathy. This ain't Netflix. This is real life. And in real life, energy circles back. Hard, especially when it was stolen. Don't gas yourself into thinking this is petty. This ain't about payback. This is about balance being restored. This is about that unseen hand, whatever you want to call it, finally pressing play on consequences. And the sound, it's deafening. You were never asking for much, just honesty, respect, loyalty. But they treated those things like burdens, and now they're watching cheap thrills turn into long-term damage. And the best part, you're not even involved. You're not pulling strings. You're not throwing shade. You're just gone, unbothered, unreachable, upgraded. They tried to paint you as unstable, dramatic, too emotional. But let's tell the truth. You were the one with a conscience. You were the one that still gave a damn. You were the one that stayed up all night over shit they forgot 5 minutes after doing it. Now they're the ones pacing floors, replaying every wrong move like a TikTok on loop. They're the ones wondering why everything feels off, why doors keep closing, why connections keep falling through, why their energy feels off as hell. But you know why. They poured gasoline and lit matches like it was a joke. And now they're mad the fire came back for them. Let this be your moment, not of revenge, but of remembrance. You didn't deserve that shit. You weren't weak. You weren't crazy. You were human. You were fucking real in a world full of filters and frauds. And now you're the one with peace, with clarity, with power that doesn't need to shout. Because when justice finally hits, it doesn't need backup dancers. It just lands, unapologetically, right in the chest, and the ones who hurt you. They're out here gasping for breath in the same silence they left you in. They're spiraling, not because they lost you, but because they lost the version of themselves that only existed through you. You were the mirror they used to feel like a good person, the one who forgave too fast, excused too much, held the weight of their sins like it was your moral responsibility to carry their rot. Now they're staring at empty rooms, wondering why the air feels heavier, why things don't hit like they used to, why every win feels hollow, every moment tastes like ash. That's what happens when you build your joy on someone else's suffering. Eventually, the scaffolding collapses, and all that's left is the echo of who you pretended to be. They can't post their way out of this one, can't filter the guilt, can't manifest their way out to divine correction. They're trying every distraction, every addiction, every fake enlightenment quote they can screenshot. But none of it's working, because when it's time to pay the bill, no amount of fake healing cancels the charges. You ever watch someone who used to feel 10 feet tall start shrinking in real time, like slowly deteriorating in front of everyone but still trying to keep up the act? You see it in their eyes, tired, paranoid, hollow. That's the consequence of building your peace on other people's breakdowns. It don't last. It never fucking lasts. You were the supply, the emotional punching bag, the therapist, the escape, the rehab center they kept relapsing inside of. And when you finally locked the doors, they went into withdrawal. Not from love, but from control. They don't miss you. They miss being able to play God with your mind. Miss how easy it was to twist your empathy into a leash. Miss being the storm and the shelter. Miss being able to cry on cue and make you feel guilty for bleeding. And now, they're suffocating in the same silence they forced you to survive in. Back then, you'd be pacing the room, replaying everything, blaming yourself for things they orchestrated. You'd be up at 3 a.m., crying over someone who was sleeping like a baby, because they knew they had you trained to blame yourself for the damage they caused. But not anymore. Now they're the ones wide awake. Now they're the ones reliving every dirty little manipulation they thought they got away with. Now it's their turn to obsess, to unravel, to beg the air for forgiveness they were never brave enough to ask from you. This ain't misfortune. This ain't a bad season. This is karma in high definition. This is divine justice pressing play on a highlight reel of everything they did to you, frame by frame, in surround sound. And they don't get to fast forward. They gotta sit with it. Breathe it. Feel the full weight of who they chose to be. They thought they'd always be ahead, right? Untouchable. They thought their charm would always buy them immunity, that they could spin the truth and people would keep clapping. But manipulation has a shelf life, and that shot expired the moment your silence turned sacred. There's something lethal about quiet healing, Something terrifying about someone who used to beg for clarity and closure suddenly going radio silent. That's when the fear kicks in. Not because they love you, but because they know they lost access to the only person who ever saw their demons and still tried to love them anyway. You did your part. You swallowed every sharp word just to keep the peace. You made excuses when people asked why you looked tired all the time. You bent over backwards while they stood still, arms crossed, waiting for you to apologize for needing basic human decency. And now they want pity. Now they want softness. Now they want your energy back, like it's a feking subscription they forgot they canceled. But that version of you, the one who broke herself to make them whole, that version is gone, dead, buried, replaced with someone who finally sees the game for what it was. Emotional warfare dressed up as love. They don't know how to function without your chaos management. Don't know how to live without you constantly holding their world together. They're used to setting fires and handing you the extinguisher. Now they're standing in the ashes with no clue how to rebuild. And what makes it worse? You're not mad. You're not vengeful. You're just done. And there is nothing scarier to a manipulator than someone who's finally, fully, absolutely done. No words, no tears, no final arguments, just silence so loud it burns, and peace so deep it feels like a threat. You didn't walk away, you escaped. They felt invincible when your world revolved around them. When your emotions were predictable, your reactions were trackable, your forgiveness automatic. You were their emotional reset button. Press it every time they fucked up and boom, clean slate. Until one day, the button stopped working. That's when shit got real. Not when they lost you, when they lost their power over how you saw yourself. Because once your lens shifted, once you started seeing patterns instead of excuses, the entire house of cards started collapsing under its own lies. They were never prepared for a version of you that didn't need their apology, that didn't chase closure like it was oxygen. They built their entire identity on being the one in control, on knowing they could wreck your spirit and still get a seat at your table. And now that door is welded shut, and their name ain't on the guest list anymore. They're not just haunted by what they did. They're haunted by who they could have been, if they'd just done the bare minimum. If they'd just loved you instead of trying to own you. If they'd just chosen truth over image. If they'd stopped performing and started evolving. But narcissists don't evolve. They recycle. Recycle pain, recycle stories, recycle people, different mask, same virus. And every time someone like you walks away, they lose another shot at being something real. There's no award for surviving what you did, no medal for being the strong one. Just a body that remembers, a nervous system that flinches at kindness, a heart that still double-checks every good thing like it's a trap. But somehow, you got up anyway. Not because it was easy, because it was necessary. Because staying would have meant slowly disappearing into someone else's dysfunction, one apology, one guilt trip, one "you're too sensitive" at a time. You don't owe them your compassion anymore. You don't owe them one more ounce of your story. They turned your vulnerability into leverage. They weaponized your trauma responses and called it miscommunication. They demanded grace for behavior they would have burned the world down over if it came from you. They were never looking for love. They were looking for an audience, someone to clap for their half-assed growth, someone to validate their victim complex, someone to carry the blame so they never had to touch accountability. And that's why they're crumbling now. Not because of what you did, but because they have to face what they've always been. No distractions, no scapegoats, no soft place to land. They're stuck with the version of themselves that you already outgrew. Trapped in a loop where the lies don't land, the charm don't work, and the mask itches like hell because the spotlight's gone. And without someone to absorb their chaos, they finally get to feel it for real, raw, unfiltered, undeniable. That spiritual invoice? It's not just overdue. It's being paid in losses they never thought they'd taste. Loyalty they'll never see again. Support they'll never feel again. Respect they'll never earn again. And the silence they used to weaponize against you. It's echoing back now like a scream in an empty church. They're learning that ghosting works both ways. That once a person fully detaches, no closure in the world can bring them back. You became the one that got away. Not because you vanished, but because you woke up. The power shift didn't start when they fucked up. It started the second you stopped explaining your worth. The second you realized that begging someone to understand your pain only trains them to ignore it. The second you stopped shrinking to fit their narrative and let the truth speak for itself. Ugly, loud, undeniable. The day you went quiet was the day everything changed, because people like that don't fear consequences. They fear exposure. They fear being seen as average when they've spent years convincing everyone they're special. They fear the collapse of the illusion more than they ever feared losing your heart. And that's exactly what's happening. The illusion is rotting. The persona is cracking. The mask is slipping in front of the very people they lied to. And they can't keep up the performance anymore because there's no audience left to lie for. The light they stole, it's gone. And the shadow they left you in, they're living in it now. You walked through hell and made it look like a glow-up. They stubbed their toe on karma and started crying like the victim. Every breadcrumb they dropped to keep you nearby. Birds ate that shit. Trail's cold, you're unreachable, and they're lost. They scroll through old pictures sometimes, ones where they looked happy, standing next to you like they earned that light. They zoom in, try to feel something, but it's not there. That glow they used to steal off your energy, gone. The filter can't fake what's missing anymore. They post throwbacks with fake captions about peace, but every word tastes like irony. Every emoji is covering panic. They used to think losing you was a plot twist. It turned out to be the whole story. They still tell versions of it that make them look sane. Edit out the parts where they lied. Crop out the moments where they smirked while you cried. They run that revisionist history in every new relationship. But truth leaks through the seams. People can smell guilt on a person who's been feeding on it too long. The air around them shifted. That confidence they wore like armor doesn't fit right anymore. Every joke hits flat. Every new face they charm walks away a little quicker. Because the universe has a way of whispering in people's instincts. This one's dangerous. Not in the exciting way. In the quiet, soul-eroding way. You don't have to see it to know it's happening. Energy keeps its receipts. The same way your body once tensed up around their presence, other people feel it now, too. That unseen heaviness, that static that comes from a life built on denial. They keep trying to outrun it. New city, new friends, new job, same infection underneath. They can switch scenery, but the mirror follows. The apology they'll never give still lives behind their teeth. Every time something good slips through their fingers, they taste the words they choked back years ago. The I'm sorry that could have changed everything. The you didn't deserve that. The I knew exactly what I was doing. They replay it when they're alone, try to frame it like they were just confused, like pain was some kind of misunderstanding. But deep down, They remember every choice, every fork in the road where they picked ego over empathy. You can't manufacture peace when your hands are dirty. They meditate, light incense, quote spiritual shit online. But they can't quiet the noise. Because peace doesn't live in denial. It lives in accountability. And they've never stepped foot there. Meanwhile, you move different. Not loud, not vengeful. Just grounded in a way that makes people stop and look twice. You carry that calm like armor. Not softness, clarity. It's in your tone, your posture, that slight smirk that says, I remember everything, but I'm free anyway. That's the kind of power they'll never touch again. They scroll past your name sometimes, pretend not to care, but that heartbeat spike gives them away. You became their unfinished sentence. Every success they chase feels hollow because it can't erase what they did to get there. They'll call it growth. They'll say they've changed, but redemption without repair is just rebranding. And somewhere in that quiet hour between midnight and morning, when the masks are off and the feed's gone dark, they feel it, the weight. Not guilt, exactly. Something heavier. The realization that they broke something that actually loved them, that they'll spend the rest of their life mistaking replacements for redemption, that every new face will fade quicker than the ghost of you. You don't wish them pain. You don't need them to hurt. They're already living inside the consequence, existing in a loop of almosts and maybes, haunted by the echo of the person they couldn't destroy, because that person got up, rebuilt, and stopped needing their apology to breathe again. They talk about peace like it's a vacation spot, like they can just book it, fly out of their consequences, snap a photo in a sun hat, and caption it, healing. But peace doesn't come to people who haven't earned it. It doesn't come to people who skipped the work and tried to Photoshop over the damage. They don't get it. Peace ain't about sage and yoga and soft music. It's about owning your wreckage, about walking into the mess you made without blaming someone else for the cracks. But they've never picked up a single piece. They just keep bleeding on clean floors and calling it art. They love to say you've changed, like that's an insult. Like they expected you to stay stuck in the version of yourself that tolerated disrespect just to keep the room from catching fire. You didn't change. You evolved. You upgraded from emotional hostage to someone who sets the rules now. And that shift, it terrifies them because you're not mad. You're detached. And detachment doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It just walks the fuck away and takes all the gravity with it. They don't understand how quiet can be so loud, how your absence can stretch across their entire life like a missing limb. Because for people like them, silence isn't peace. It's punishment. It's the void where their manipulation used to echo. They're replaying it every day, trying to remember exactly when the power flipped. Was it the night you didn't answer the phone? The text you didn't respond to? That last time you looked at them with empty eyes like they were already gone. They're dissecting it in real time, looking for a way back, some crack in the door, some weakness in your boundary they can crawl through. But you burned the blueprints. They don't know how to navigate you anymore. Because the version of you they trained to fold under pressure, you buried that person in silence and rebuilt from the bones up. They used to weaponize your empathy. Now they choke on your indifference. Because when someone's entire identity was built around keeping you broken, your healing becomes their apocalypse. That's why they're restless, why their wins feel fake, why their smiles fade fast. Because nothing hits when it's built on stolen light. They keep trying to replicate what they had with you. But everything else feels like static. No one mirrors them the way you did. No one holds space the way you used to. No one sees through them like you always could. And still chose to stay until you didn't. And they felt that shift like a car crash in the middle of a dream. Sudden, loud, unforgiving. The impact left dents in their self-image, left holes in their storyline, and no matter how they try to reframe it, they can't rewrite the truth that's eating them alive. You survived what was meant to break you, and they hate that. Because your survival exposes everything. Your peace highlights their chaos. Your growth drags their stagnation into the light. You became the proof that they were the problem, and they can't unsee it, can't bury it, can't run fast enough from what you reflect back at them just by existing unbothered. They talk about love like it's currency, like they gave you something rare, but all they ever gave you was confusion with a bow on it, guilt disguised as care, control dressed up as protection. Well. Look who's still alive. You, the outcast. You, the misfit. The black sheep they all tried to shear into silence. They laughed when you screamed fire. They rolled their eyes when you spoke in warnings. They blocked you out like static, like noise, like some broken, bitter prophet muttering in the rain. But guess what, darling? The rain turned to ash. And now, the sky's red, the ground's cracking, hell is here. And all the people who told you to calm down, shut up, be nice, or just let it go. They're clawing at the walls like rats in a burning maze. You see it, don't you? The panic, the scrambling, the denial. It's not just fire outside, it's collapse. It's institutions buckling. Families tearing each other apart at the dinner table over nothing. It's people screaming into phones for help that ain't coming. But you're calm, you're still. Because this is the storm you were built for. You were forged in silence, in rejection, in all those rooms where they snickered behind your back. You remember every time they mocked your instincts, every time they told you were too much, too intense, too emotional, too dramatic. But now, their world is on fire and your drama sounds like divine scripture. You warned them, and now you're watching them drown in the very flood you tried to drag them from. Let it sink in. All the nights you stayed up, thinking you were the crazy one. All the times you bit your tongue so hard it bled, just to keep the peace. All the jobs you walked away from because your soul couldn't breathe. All the friends who vanished when your truth got too loud for their comfort. This is your vindication, and no, it doesn't feel sweet, does it? It feels hollow, ugly, painful. Because deep down, you didn't want to be right. You wanted them to get it before everything burned. But here's the part they never understood. You don't flinch anymore. You don't tremble at collapse. You've lived it. You don't run from darkness. You became it, just to survive. You don't beg for approval. You devour silence and keep walking. Because now you know. You were never crazy. You were clear in a world built on blurry lies and manic denial. They told you to just be happy. They sold you this fake filtered life, plastic smiles, curated perfection, obedience dressed as virtue. But under that fake peace was rot. And now it's spilling out of every crack in society like sewage through marble floors, and you're just sitting there, nodding, not smug, not gloating, just done pretending. Because you've seen this movie 100 times in your head, you knew it would end like this. Not with a bang, but with a whimper muffled by screens and silence. You were always the one feeling too much. They numbed themselves with fake news, dopamine loops, and cheap comforts. You couldn't. You felt everything. And now, you're the only one not surprised. You were the warning, and now you are the aftermath. But don't think this means you're free. Oh no, now it's your turn to rise. Not as some messiah, not as a savior, but as the last one left with eyes wide open. You've got no cape, no applause, no parade. Just a fireproof soul, scarred knuckles, and a voice that cuts like a switchblade. Because here's the truth nobody dares say out loud. They let it burn. They chose denial over change. They ignored the cracks until the floor collapsed beneath them. And they'll still point fingers at you, at everyone, because owning their part would break them. But you won't break. You already did, long ago. And you put yourself back together with rusted nails and defiance. Now you walk through fire like it's a morning jog. Now you sit in chaos like it's your living room. Now you speak in truths so sharp they make people flinch. Because no one's used to honesty that hurts anymore. You are not a survivor. You are a witness to their collapse. You are the grim nod in the middle of screaming madness. You are the one who told them all. And now you say nothing. Because silence is louder when hell arrives. You don't need to say, "I told you so." They see it in your eyes, in the way you don't panic, in the way your hands stay steady while theirs shake, in the way you walk forward while they scatter. You are not the villain. You are not the hero. You are what's left when the mask comes off and reality screams. They stare at you now like you're some kind of monster, but deep down, they're not scared of you. They're scared of the fact that you were always right, scared that behind your madness was a map, and they tore it to shreds, scared that while they were worshiping comfort, you were bracing for collapse. They didn't want to believe someone like you, raw, emotional, scarred, unfiltered, could have been the only one who saw it all coming. You kept receipts, not to gloat, not to say, "I told you so," but because you needed proof you weren't insane. Because when everyone gaslights your instincts, those memories become survival tools. They told you to be patient, you were. They told you to be positive, you tried. They told you to trust the process, while that process chewed you up and spit you out. You kept showing up, even when your voice trembled, even when your chest caved in from holding back screams. You still showed up. You fought through silence. You fought through shame. You fought through every room that went quiet the second you spoke truth. And now you walk through this burning world with nothing left to lose. That's why they're really scared, because they know people with nothing to lose don't follow rules. They don't play nice. They don't beg for scraps. They rebuild from ashes, and they don't ask for permission to rise. You don't need a soapbox or spotlight. You carry your message in your walk, your tone, your energy. It's in how you refuse to panic, refuse to play pretend, refuse to sugarcoat reality just to make others comfortable. You're dangerous, not because you want to burn it all down, but because you're willing to sit in the fire until you understand every damn flame. Because you learned the difference between chaos and clarity. And now you speak with a calm that scares the liars more than a scream ever could. They'll say you changed, that you've gone cold, but they weren't there when you cried alone in your car, when you swallowed rage so thick it burned your throat, when your heart begged for connection and got indifference in return. They weren't there when you gave people chance after chance after chance until your kindness started killing you slowly. This version of you, this one who doesn't flinch when the system breaks, This one who stares into the storm like it's an old friend. This one who nods quietly while the world falls apart. This version was built, not born. Forged in betrayal, sharpened by disappointment, tempered by the flames they swore would consume you. They said you were too intense, too paranoid, too emotional, as if those traits weren't exactly what kept you alive when everything collapsed. Now you speak from scar tissue, not bitterness. Clarity, not cruelty. Truth, not revenge. Revelation. Because when hell shows up, people finally see who was real. Not the ones smiling for the camera, not the ones posting empty positivity while the floor crumbles, but the ones who've already died 1,000 emotional deaths and still chose to come back swinging. The apocalypse doesn't scare you. You've survived worse. In your childhood, your relationships, your own mind, you've walked through gaslighting that felt like psychological war. You've been isolated for seeing what others refused to see. And now, you carry that pain like armor. You don't explain anymore. You just walk past the wreckage, silent, and everyone feels it, even if they don't understand it. They feel it in the way you don't explain yourself anymore, in the way your silence slices sharper than any argument, in the way your presence drags truth into the room, whether they're ready or not. You don't need to raise your voice, because your energy is louder than anything they've ever heard. They whisper behind closed doors that you've changed, that you've hardened, that you've gone too far. What they don't admit is that they're watching you with a quiet, sick kind of awe. Because you didn't just survive the fire, you built a throne in it. There's a weight behind your words now, the kind that doesn't beg to be understood, the kind that doesn't chase after anyone who walks away, the kind that comes from earning your voice the hard way. Through being silenced, through swallowing your truth for years until it poisoned you from the inside, through bending over backwards to keep the peace until the peace snapped and took your spine with it. You don't apologize for being loud anymore. You don't shrink yourself to make others feel tall. You don't explain why the fire doesn't scare you, because they wouldn't get it anyway. They weren't there when you were lighting matches just to stay warm in the cold of their indifference. Every red flag they ignored, you studied it. Every betrayal they swept under the rug, you bled on it. Every time they said, "You're overreacting," you were cataloging every pattern, every inconsistency, every time the mask slipped. And now that everything's cracked wide open, you don't look shocked, because you already grieved this world years ago. Grieved the fake friendships, grieved the institutions, grieved the illusion that people would do the right thing when it mattered. You did the emotional funeral before the world even noticed the body. That's why you're still calm while they spiral. Why you sit still while they scream, "How did this happen?" You're not numb, you're past it. You already did the emotional heavy lifting while they were too busy pretending everything was fine. And they hate you for that. Because your existence is a mirror, and you reflect all the truth they've spent their whole lives running from. Every time you speak, it's a siren they can't shut off. Every time you enter a room, the air shifts. You don't even have to say anything anymore. You've become the embodiment of everything they tried to suppress. You're not here for revenge. You're not here to be liked. You're here because you earned this place in the fire. And you're not stepping out just to make anyone else feel comfortable. You've outgrown their lies, outgrown their distractions, outgrown their desperate need to stay asleep while the world chokes on smoke. You see it all for what it is: the fake morality, the performative empathy, the endless pretending that everything's okay if you just smile hard enough and buy the right things and say the right slogans. And you're done pretending, done performing, done carrying the weight of other people's comfort while your own bones crack under the pressure. You've become someone no one can gaslight anymore, someone no one can guilt into silence, someone who doesn't beg to be seen, because you've seen yourself fully, and there was always the only kind of validation that mattered. And that's exactly what makes you untouchable. You've become the one thing this world can't manipulate, aware, not just woke in some trendy, empty hashtag way, viscerally awake. The kind of awake that makes sleep feel like betrayal. The kind of awake that comes from clawing your way through every illusion they shoved down your throat since you were a kid. They trained you to obey. They trained you to fit in, play nice, stay small, get the job, nod along, buy your little distractions, and call that happiness. And for a while you tried. You played the part. You smiled through broken teeth and called it being strong. You wore masks that didn't even fit just to belong to rooms that were rotting underneath the floorboards. But you couldn't keep it up. Your soul wouldn't let you, because deep down, you knew. You were never meant to be part of the performance. You were meant to tear the curtain down and show everyone the ugly machinery behind the scenes. And when you started speaking like that, when you stopped pretending, when you let the rawness bleed through your words, they couldn't handle it. Suddenly you were too negative, too intense, too real. Translation, you stopped lying like the rest of them, and nothing threatens a fragile system more than someone who refuses to participate in the script. You stopped begging for clarity. You became it. You stopped chasing peace in fake people. You learned to build your own peace in places they said you'd never survive. Because when you've sat alone with your pain long enough, it stops being something you run from. It becomes a blueprint, a weapon, a signal to others who've bled the same way. You can't be manipulated by fear anymore, because you've walked through worse than this world could ever throw at you. You've faced the monsters inside your own mind and shook hands with every demon they swore would destroy you. And once you stop being scared of yourself, nothing else has power. They say you've changed, as if that's an insult, as if staying broken was the goal. They miss the version of you that didn't know how dangerous you were. The version of you that still asked for permission. The version that kept swallowing truth like it was poison. But that version of you died in silence, in chaos, in all the little deaths they never noticed because you never made a scene. You buried that self under years of betrayal. And what rose in its place is something they don't have a name for. You don't fit their categories, not rebel, not leader, not villain, not savior. Just something real, something raw, something that survived without losing its soul. And when you speak, people feel it in their bones, even if they can't say why, even if they pretend not to hear. Because truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to exist long enough to outlast the noise. It just needs to exist long enough to outlast the noise. And that's exactly what you've been doing. Outlasting fake allies who ghosted the second your truth got inconvenient. Outlasting the fake positivity crowd that tried to toxic smile their way through a crumbling world. Outlasting the ones who only show up when things are shiny, when your pain is edited and your story fits neatly into something they can repost for clout. You kept going when there was nothing to hold on to. Not love, not money, not approval, not certainty. Just this gut-deep pull. This defiant, unkillable instinct that you weren't done yet. That even if everything else went up in flames, you'd crawl through the ashes with your teeth clenched and your middle finger raised to the sky. You're not made of hope anymore. You're made of decision. You don't wake up hoping it gets better. You wake up and choose to keep going, even if the world is cracking at the seams. That's not optimism. That's war paint. People look at you now and try to figure it out. How the hell you're still standing. They don't see the nights you collapsed in silence. They don't see the bathroom floors you wept on, fists in your mouth to keep from screaming. They don't see the text messages you never got replies to, or the way your voice started to fade because no one ever really heard you. They just see what rose out of all that. They see this version of you that walks like fire doesn't burn anymore. That doesn't beg for explanations. That doesn't flinch when the mask drops and the world gets ugly again. You've seen too much to go back to pretending. You've felt too much to sit in rooms that feed on surface-level conversation and call it connection. You've bled too much to care about being palatable. And you're finally dangerous in the way you were always meant to be. Not because you hurt people, but because you refuse to keep hurting yourself to protect their comfort. You got tired of playing nice in a world that never played fair. Tired of diluting yourself to keep people from choking on your intensity. Tired of making your pain bite-sized and digestible for people who never even chewed on their own. You don't need validation from people who can't sit in the dark with themselves for more than 5 minutes. You don't need closure from people who shut doors, like slamming them is a personality trait. You don't need softness from those who only know how to show up when you're easy to handle. You've made peace with your shadow. You've looked it dead in the eye and stopped apologizing for the parts of you that weren't cute, weren't soft, weren't safe. And that's why you're unshakable, because you're whole. Messy, raw, unfiltered, and whole. And whole doesn't mean healed. It doesn't mean perfect. It means you stopped slicing pieces off yourself just to fit into spaces that were never built to hold you. It means you let the cracks show, because hiding them started to feel like lying. It means you walk into rooms full of masks, and yours stays off, even if it makes everybody squirm. You're not here to make anyone feel safe anymore. You're not here to soften your tone or pretty up your rage. You've carried the weight of everyone else's denial for too long. The kind of weight that breaks bones slowly, invisibly, until you wake up one day and realize your spine's been bending for people who wouldn't even notice if it snapped. You used to beg for clarity. Now you are clarity. Brutal, raw, unapologetic. People used to mistake your kindness for weakness. They thought your empathy meant obedience. They didn't realize they were poking something that had already learned to bleed without flinching. You let them underestimate you. You let them talk down to you, believing their inflated egos were a sign of strength, while your quiet endurance was written off as softness. But it was never softness. It was restraint. It was power with the volume turned down. It was a storm waiting, and it's not waiting anymore. It's speaking in your voice. It's walking in your step. It's staring them down without blinking while the world comes undone around them. You're not heartless. You just ran out of room for other people's comfort when they never once made space for your pain. You've seen too much behind the curtain to pretend the show is still worth clapping for. You've been lied to with smiles and hit with silence, and somehow you still get up every day and keep choosing truth over fantasy, even when it costs you everything. That's what scares them the most. Not your anger, not your words, but your refusal to go numb. Your refusal to play dead just because the world told you that your fire was inconvenient. They want you docile, digestible, quiet enough to blend in, but bright enough to entertain. But you're not built for that. You're not content being decoration in someone else's illusion of peace. You carry chaos in your lungs now. The kind that doesn't destroy but reveals. The kind that makes people uncomfortable because it reminds them of what they buried to survive. You walk into the room and mirrors start cracking. Not because you broke them, but because you're the first real thing they've seen in years. And it shakes something primal in them. Because when you walk in carrying that kind of truth, it doesn't just make noise, it makes impact. Not the kind they can post about with fake deep captions and soft filters. The kind that stays with them long after you've left, long after the room goes quiet, long after their smile drops and the mask slips, and they're left staring into the raw space your presence carved open. They feel exposed around you because you don't flinch at their chaos. You don't recoil from their contradictions. You don't dance around their discomfort like it's your job to make their self-deception feel safe. You just stand there, unchanged, unbothered, unfiltered, and they don't know what to do with that. You're not playing their game anymore, the game where you're supposed to stay quiet when you're angry, where you're supposed to fake gratitude while you starve for real connection, where you're supposed to accept almost as the prize for giving your everything. You're not here for that version of reality anymore, the one that demands your soul in exchange for breadcrumbs of approval. Ladies and gentlemen of the fire, the broken, the blamed, the underestimated, welcome to the aftermath of your unapologetic greatness. They never expected you to rise. Not you, the one they laughed at in the group chat. Not you, the one they skipped over for the promotion. Not you, the one who sat alone at lunch while they whispered behind your back, like school children with fragile egos. But now, you move different. You eat different. You win different. You ate so hard, they thought it had to be stolen. Because in their mind, your excellence couldn't possibly be real. You succeeded so violently, so thoroughly, so recklessly beyond their projections. They thought it was fraud. You broke the algorithm so hard they filed a report. You violated their little blueprint for how success is supposed to look so badly, they had to send someone to check the damage, an investigation, not because you cheated, but because they couldn't wrap their mediocre minds around your reality. Let that sit. You didn't just level up, you detonated, and now the fallout's choking every mouth that ever said you'd be nothing. You ever win so hard it gets quiet, like ghost town quiet. People who used to blow up your phone suddenly forgetting how to text. Family who used to drop constructive criticism now giving you side eyes and silence. Yeah, that silence, that's respect, choking on regret. Because when you were losing, you were entertainment. But when you started eating, you became a threat. And they don't know how to stomach that, because your glow don't come with an apology letter. Your win doesn't shrink to make their comfort zone feel bigger. Your greatness? It's loud, it's offensive, it's loud like sirens, it's blinking red lights, and, sir, we're gonna need you to step out of the vehicle energy. And you know what? That's good. Be the reason they can't sleep. Be the glitch in their simulation. Be the audit to their tax-free egos. You ate like you'd been starving for years, because you were. And they didn't feed you. They watched you starve. So now that you're feasting, they can't bear the sound of your chewing. They hate that you turned every scar into a strategy, that every no became a stepping stone, that every humiliation they handed you was logged, studied, and turned into fuel. You didn't just play the game, you rewrote it, and you didn't bring a seat to the table. You flipped the table, bolted your own throne to the floor, and dared them to make eye contact. Now they want to ask questions. Now they want to see the receipts. Now they want to know who helped you. Nobody. That's the scary part. You built this alone. No blueprint, no handouts, just rage, vision, precision, and a middle finger to every gate they tried to keep shut. You became the storm, and now they're looking for shelter in the same system that used to mock you. Funny, isn't it? You ate so ruthlessly, they forgot what peace looked like. They thought their little comfort zones were bulletproof. You walked in and set off every alarm in the building. Now they're whispering your name like it's a case file. Did you see what they did? How the hell did they do that? That can't be legal. Good. Make them uncomfortable. Make them question everything. Because you're not just succeeding, you're erasing bloodlines of mediocrity. You're winning like the rules never applied to you. Because deep down, you knew they didn't. You weren't built for 9-to-5 caskets and polite ceilings. You were built for chaos, built to outthink, outwork, outlast, built to eat what they swore you'd never taste. You are the crime scene now. You're the red tape, the yellow chalk outline, the unexplained event that breaks every theory they had about success. They thought you peaked, thought this was your flash in the pan. Nah. You're the fire they can't put out. You're the glitch that keeps crashing their safe little narratives. You're not a moment. You're a movement, and you don't need permission to exist. They scroll past your wins like they don't see 'em. They pretend you ain't trending, but behind closed doors, they studying you like surveillance footage, zooming in, rewinding, analyzing your every frame, trying to find the flaw, the trick, the hidden cheat code. But there isn't one. It's just you. You, raw, relentless, weaponized with pain they couldn't survive 10 minutes in. Your grind doesn't post selfies. It doesn't brag. It documents evidence every late night, every breakdown, every "I should quit" that turned into "watch me." You ate like it was the Last Supper and everyone at the table had laughed at your hunger. You didn't just want to win. You needed it, like oxygen, like revenge, like salvation. You were starving and they didn't throw you scraps. They threw you shade, mocked your little ideas, smirked when you talked big. You remember that? That silence you got when you told them your dreams. That looked like, "Oh, that's cute"? Yeah, you remember. You filed it. Right next to every "you're doing too much," every "that's unrealistic," every fake smile that cracked the second you turned your back. You didn't just evolve. You mutated. You broke through the walls they swore were unbreakable. While they were following the manual, you were out here rewriting physics, manifesting chaos, making progress look like a felony, success so dramatic, so loud. They need therapy just to understand what happened. You're the reason people question their choices now. You're the reason someone reopened their journal today. You're the reason someone hit unfollow out of sheer self-loathing. You're a walking reminder that excuses rot in the presence of evidence. And you, right now, your evidence, undeniable, unignorable, unlawful even, if they had it their way. But see, they don't get it. They thought success came dressed in suits, with LinkedIn profiles and baby step plans. But you showed up barefoot, blood on your knuckles, laughed in the boardroom, ate with your hands. They called it wild. You called it freedom. You don't fit the mold because you burned the mold. You never played safe. You played necessary. And that scared them, because if you could do it, with all the weight you carried, with all the sabotage you didn't even speak on, then what's their excuse? You pulled off the unthinkable, and they're left thinking about it, eyes wide open, hearts clenched, egos bruised, because your win didn't just climb the ranks. It violated the code. It was too fast, too loud, too impossible, too you. And when your name came up, they didn't celebrate. They panicked, started whispering in corners, started asking the wrong people the wrong questions, hoping someone had dirt to explain your shine. But there is no dirt. You crawled through it, buried in it, resurrected from it. You don't owe them clarity. You don't owe them a damn blueprint. Let them file complaints, file reports, call the committee, ask for a recount. Let them drown in confusion. Keep eating like they ain't got the stomach to watch. Like every bite is a broadcasted reminder that you weren't supposed to make it here. And yet here you are, sitting at the feast, not just with a plate, but with the whole table carved out of every "you're not enough" they ever threw at you. You didn't ask for space. You took it. Like a problem they tried to ignore until it grew teeth. Like a rumor that turned into a revolution, you walked into rooms built to suffocate you and breathed like you owned the air. And that messed with them, because they were counting on you staying quiet. They thought the weight would crush you, that the doubt would infect you, that the loneliness would eat you alive. And honestly, it almost did. You broke in places they'll never see. You collapsed in silence, cried in the dark where no one could screenshot your suffering. But you got up, wiped blood off your mindset, and built again, not clean, not pretty, but undeniable. You wore the failure, lived in it, smelled like it, then used it as fuel, and now you show up dripping in power that wasn't gifted, wasn't inherited. It was earned, scratched out of hell with bare hands and no audience. That's why they can't process your glow. It wasn't made in the spotlight. It was built in basements, behind locked doors, on nights when your heart beat like a war drum and your mind whispered, "Just stay down." But you didn't. You chose war. Every damn time. You don't just succeed, you haunt. You're the phantom in their timelines, the reminder that can't was always just fear in a costume. They talk about you without tagging you. Passive-aggressive captions, side-eye shade, dressed as concern. Just worried they're doing too much. Nah, they're worried you're doing what they never could. You learned to walk on the ashes of bridges they burned behind you, and every step echoes like guilt in their chests. Because your rise didn't just lift you, it exposed them. Every hater, every ghost friend, every fake mentor who only showed up when it was time to take credit. They can't stand how loud your silence got, how your absence turned into presence, how you stopped explaining yourself and started speaking only in results. You became evidence of what's possible, of what can't be denied, of what happens when someone refuses to die quietly. You're not just in the room. You're the reason the temperature changed. You're the reason their voices drop when your name comes up. You're the one making them Google things they swore they already mastered, because whatever you tapped into, it's different. It's scary. It's illegal to their comfort. They ran out of ways to belittle it, ran out of explanations, started using words like luck, like you didn't bleed for every inch, like you didn't sit with demons they couldn't spell. You were the storm they forecasted wrong, the variable they never calculated, and now, every success you touch feels like an earthquake on their fake foundations. You became too real to ignore, too raw to package, too loud for their silence to cover. You don't just shake rooms, you shift dimensions. People adjust their posture when you speak, not out of respect, out of discomfort. You remind them what unfiltered hunger looks like, what unlicensed ambition feels like, what it means to survive every kind of death but keep walking like your bones. Remember why you started. They watched you rot, watched you sink in the quicksand they swore was permanent. They didn't throw ropes, they threw doubts. And when you climbed out covered in scars and silence, they didn't clap. They panicked, because you were never supposed to leave that pit. You were supposed to be the example they pointed at when warning others not to dream too big. You were the one they bet against in every silent group chat. But here you are, eating, with a plate they never set, at a table they didn't build, in a house you weren't invited into, and your presence feels like trespassing in the architecture of their delusion. You're the blueprint now. You're the conversation they can't avoid. You're the proof they hate having to explain. Because if you made it, then they gotta reckon with the truth. It was never the lack of opportunity. It was the lack of nerve. You didn't inherit access. You hijacked it. Broke through digital gates with nothing but pain in your chest and venom in your voice. No followers, no funding, no friendly faces paving the way. Just you and a refusal to go quiet. And when you finally made noise, real noise, the kind that echoes through timelines and algorithms, they started looking for the catch. Had to. Because you didn't fit the script. You weren't polished. You weren't market tested. You didn't play nice. You showed up loud, cracked, untamed. And the world paused, like it didn't know how to handle a flame that didn't beg to be controlled. You succeeded in a way that makes them itchy, like, what if I tried? Itchy, like, what if I actually gave a fuck about my life? Itchy. But they won't say that. They'll say you changed, got arrogant, lost touch. Because the second you outgrow their comfort, they slap labels on your evolution just to sleep better. You didn't get arrogant, you got loud, you got free, you got dangerous, and they hate dangerous. Because dangerous doesn't ask for permission, dangerous doesn't stay small, dangerous doesn't wait for applause. You're not waiting anymore. You're moving, with weight in your walk, with thunder in your voice, with receipts in your shadow. And every time they try to write you off, you make them rewrite their plans. Because nothing they do can erase the fact that you happened. Not quietly, not cleanly, not by the rules, but you happened. You happened like a glitch in their system that couldn't be patched, like a software bug they tried to ignore until it brought the whole damn network down. You were the error message they never planned for, the corrupted file that still ran faster than everything they spent years uploading. You didn't wait to be discovered. You forced recognition, kicked the algorithm in the teeth, showed up uninvited and outperformed everyone on the list. No polish, no cosigns, just pressure. And the kind of silence that only shows up after a massacre. You broke rules that weren't written in ink. They were written in fear. Codes passed down like inheritance. Don't get too loud. Don't stand out too much. Stay humble while they step over you. But you were born allergic to that script. You said fuck the blueprint. You built the storm, and then you danced in it, because somewhere deep in your ribs you knew. They'd never hand it to you. You'd have to take it, loud, messy, unforgiving, and that's exactly what you did. You didn't just eat, you devoured. You showed up to the buffet with hunger that made the room nervous, the type of hunger that can't be tamed. that gets you kicked out of places for making a scene. Because your appetite didn't come from wanting more. It came from having nothing. It came from being denied, ignored, undervalued, disrespected, discarded. You turned rejection into seasoning, turned every "you're not ready" into protein. And when it was time to feast, you didn't nibble. You ripped into it with both hands, with rage in your grip and vengeance in your bite. They watched you rise and started whispering like you were part of some scandal, because that's what success looks like to cowards. Something must be off. Something must be rigged. You couldn't have possibly earned it clean. Not you. Not the one they left on red. Not the one they flaked on. Not the one they posted passive-aggressive memes about when you started acting different. You didn't act different. You became different. And that's the part they choke on, because your glow ain't aesthetic. It's evidence. It's proof that some people don't fold. They morph. They sharpen. They burn. You were the smoke signal they didn't take seriously until the fire reached their doorstep. You were the warning shot they ignored until the whole building caved in. And now, you're here, dragging light behind you like a riot, making eye contact like your pupils carry unspeakable stories, walking like every step is built on bones you buried yourself. Not metaphorically, literally. You outlived versions of you they tried to kill, and those ghosts still follow you, not to haunt, to testify. They testify every time you enter a room, and it gets quiet for no reason. Every time a fake smile twitches when you speak. Every time someone says, "You changed," with that bitter little tremble in their throat. Because the version of you they remember, the tame one, the quiet one, the easy-to-ignore one, you buried that one without a funeral. No headstone, no farewell, just dirt, silence, and a vow that the next version would never beg to be seen again. You resurrected with smoke in your lungs and war in your bloodstream, this new you. You don't flinch, you don't explain, you don't ask twice. You say it once, you move, and if they can't keep up, they get steamrolled and filed under "used to know me." They look at you and can't find the soft spot anymore. Can't find the hesitation, can't find that little crack they used to exploit when they needed someone to feel taller. You sealed it, covered it in armor forged from all the nights you cried, with a locked jaw and a lit brain, cried in silence so nobody could screenshot the noise. This version of you is dangerous because you no longer live for reaction. You're not dancing for applause. You're moving like a loaded question. They don't know how to answer you without exposing themselves. You became the consequence, the result of every door slammed in your face, the aftermath of every fake handshake and empty promise. You got tired of waiting for closure. You just became the chapter they couldn't finish, the unfinished sentence that still haunts their tongue. And that's why they investigate. Because your rise didn't follow their recipe. You didn't network. You didn't beg. You didn't do the right steps in the right order. You built sideways, in the dark, with scraps. You made it work without permission, and that offends people who spent their whole lives asking for it. They don't respect what they don't understand. And they'll never understand how you kept building while bleeding, how you kept grinding while grieving, how you kept showing up when nobody clapped, nobody cared, and nobody believed. They'll never understand what it took to smile with a mouth full of ash, what it meant to keep going when the only thing pushing you forward was spite, and the haunting idea that this can't be where it ends. They think you're dramatic. They think you're obsessed. They think you're too much. And they're right. You are. Too loud for their comfort, too fast for their steps, too focused for their distractions. You're too everything for the world they tried to trap you in. You evolved past their vocabulary. They don't have the words for what you are now. You're not just successful, you're weaponized. You don't walk in with resumes. You walk in with evidence. You don't ask for seats at the table. You build a kingdom where tables don't even exist. You're walking justice, the living, breathing, undefeated side effect of people underestimating the wrong soul. You're what happens when pain gets organized, when rejection gets filed, labeled, and turned into fuel. When every back turned on you becomes a blueprint for distance. When you stop knocking on doors and start blowing the hinges off. When survival stops being the goal and starts being the minimum. You're the version of you that nobody planned for. Not the teachers who laughed, not the friends who vanished, not the family who only showed up when they could post you like a trophy. None of them saw this coming. They thought the damage was permanent. They thought if they ignored you long enough, you'd forget your power. They underestimated how dangerous silence can be when it's holding back a storm. You didn't just grow in the dark. You learned to see in it. You studied the shadows, became fluent in suffering. And when you finally moved, you didn't come back to prove them wrong. You came back to bury the whole narrative. You didn't just flip the script. You set it on fire and told the ashes to watch. And they're watching. Oh, they're watching. Through fake accounts. Through side eyes at events they weren't invited to anymore. Through third-hand conversations that sound like fear dressed as gossip. They say you're intense, you're aggressive, you're hard to talk to. Yeah, you used to be easy to ignore, easy to step over, easy to keep small, but easy got you nowhere. And that version of you is gone, not missing, eliminated, strangled in silence and buried in receipts. Because this world doesn't respect soft power until it starts shaking the walls. You became seismic, a walking aftershock. Every time your name hits a room, people brace themselves. They don't know if you're coming with a smile or a statement. And the truth is, neither do you. Because every move you make now is felt, not just seen. You stopped trying to be liked, started making impact the priority, stopped chasing validation, and started collecting wins so loud they couldn't be ignored. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be unmistakable. There's nothing digestible about your story. It's raw, it's jagged, it cuts when you say it out loud. And still, you wear it like armor, not to protect you, to remind them